Is the Dacia Spring still a worthless car, as many say, in the comment sections of various social networks? That is what we find out. Today, I have said it before and I will say it again. In Bucharest, there is no car faster from A to B than the Dacia Spring. It is narrow, you can squeeze through tight spots, you can turn where others struggle and have to make multiple maneuvers, you can turn around easily. It has an instant response to the pedal when you leave the traffic light. Seriously, this car is very fast in the urban environment. It has its fans, it has its haters, and now we have Dacia Spring 2, Dacia Spring facelift. Call it whatever you want. That's what we find out today. Is it a new generation or just a face tip? And so you don't say that Lucy came, that they paid him. Really, this time, who paid me? Dacia, because it's a Romanian company, Renault. Because the French own Dacia, or the Chinese because the car is made in China? Who else paid me this time? Write in the comments who paid me, hashtag who paid Lucy Popa. But because we are still a serious YouTube channel, let's ask you, did you have a Dacia Spring? Do you have a Dacia Spring? I want to know your experience from purchase to maintenance to consumption, at charging stations, at after sales, at everything. Or if you have a friend with a Dacia Spring, write in the comments. Let's see what Dacia Spring owners think about the Dacia Spring. What I think about the new Dacia Spring, I'll tell you in the comments. Alright, we won't drag it out any longer, although we could because the car is quite small. Cars with Lucy Popa, Dacia Spring begins. Our partners today are Cars and Care, driven by Business Lease, and they are some of our favorite partners. They have this Ford Focus sedan, and note, a sedan, because there are not many sedans on the market anymore, and this is something quite sad if you ask me. Well, they have this Ford Focus sedan and another 200 cars of different budgets for different pockets, all to the first and only owner. Cars and Care is the one and only owner of these vehicles coming from operational leasing. What does this mean? What does it mean that they come from operational leasing? It means that everything regarding mileage history, damage and repairs is visible and transparent. You do not buy from intermediaries, you do not buy from traders, so they have no interest in rolling back the mileage or hiding damages. You even receive a 2-year warranty within the limit of 20,000 kilometers per year, and you get a pretty good warranty, much better than what others offer you. I will give you an example. This warranty even includes the internal parts of the engine, not just the external parts, including the turbine, injectors, meaning it is a pretty good warranty.
Grandmother. The aim of those at Cars and Care is for you to transition from a client to an owner in the shortest time possible. This means including quick, flexible, and customized financing solutions.
It is known that all used cars have some minor defects. Well, all these minor defects at Cars and Care are fixed beforehand. So basically, you want to buy a car, you go and see it, and you notice that it has minor defects. Well, these will be repaired before the car is delivered to you, including the tires if they are too worn out, not the case with this Ford Focus, but including the tires, if they are too worn out, they will be repaired. Because the people at Cars and Care take care of their clients. The people at Cars and Care have been offering mobility solutions since 2014, so for more than 10 years, and the clients have given them a rating of 9.1. So give them a chance. You have used cars from a reliable source, a trustworthy source, cars from the first owner, the sole owner, without intermediaries, with a 2-year warranty and complete history of mileage, damages, and repairs. Dacia Spring is on offer now if you purchase it through the Rabla Plus program. Because funds are still available, you get it for 11,800 euros including VAT, but things are not what they seem, as we will see a little later when we will talk about equipment, engines, and so on. The price for those who follow us and do not have the Rabla program is 16,900 euros with VAT included. Why shouldn't they have it? 18,900 euros for the intermediate version with the larger engine, and 19,900 euros including VAT for the version we have here, which is the top version. Obviously, you can add some options to it, and it will take you to 21,000 and some €100. Even so, the Spring remained the cheapest electric car in Europe.
And it comes to Romania with a 3-year warranty or 100,000 kilometers or 8 years, 120,000 kilometers for the warranty on.
What does battery warranty mean? It means battery health after this period or this mileage of at least 75%. This means that out of 200 kilometers, if the car still does 150, it's good. You don't change it at the station.
And now let's answer the question, what is a Dacia Spring? The car appeared almost a decade ago in India under the name Hanoquid, and it was a thermal vehicle.
For a reduced budget, it was $3,800. In India, this car did not have airbags, did not have ABS, did not have anything, but it was a cheap and affordable car, attractive to Indians. 25,000 orders were registered at launch. The car came with a 0.8 engine, came with a 1.0 engine.
It was a joy. The car was designed by the Indians together with the chief engineer, a former mathematician. I can't remember his name. Gerard Protopopescu or something like that, as he was French.
And he was also the leader of the team that designed the Dacia Logan. This car should be well received by Romanians because the Logan is God's bread. Then the Chinese from Dongfeng came and said, Renault, don't you also want an electric version? Yes, of course. Okay, let's do it. You give us the body. We'll take care of the engine and the battery. And that's how Renault City KZ came about.
That's how the Dacia Spring appeared. That's how the Venucia E30 appeared. A cheap sub-brand, a kind of Chinese Dacia, and a bunch of versions like Dongfeng Aeolus EX1, Fengjing T1, Fengguang E1, Dongfeng Nano Box. This car exists in multiple versions.
Renault said, put some reinforcements, add some features, add some airbags, and bring it to Europe because we want to have the cheapest electric car in Europe. They had it and they still have it. Not even the Chinese could make a cheaper one because the Leap motor model, a small electric, is more expensive than the Spring, although it is more new. Question, what is the origin of the name Spring? From arc, from spring, or from fountain? For those who listen to us in English, it will be very confusing because they just heard the word spring from 3 times. Our everyday Spring has received LED daytime running lights, somewhat like Thor's hammer on the theme, but it's not a problem. And the headlights remain halogen, with high beam, low beam, and we have the emblem there. The new Dacia emblem, which resembles a bit the emblem from DeLorean, my favorite car. Well, and if you're wondering where the turn signal is, it's here. Practically, the daytime running light turns off and the indicator light turns on. So for the first time, we have full LED indicators on the Dacia Spring. In the mirror, obviously, we have LEDs. Let's also look at the tail lights. These seem to be LEDs. I can't guarantee they are LEDs, but you can always correct me.
But they look like LEDs. They might be bulbs. The turn signals are clearly with bulbs. The reverse light is clearly with a bulb. And for a cheap car to have.
Reverse twice. It's good. It's good. 2 reversing bulbs. They didn't skimp. And the fog light is also with a bulb. We have the reflectors down here and the third brake light there. Now you probably notice something. The car is in reverse. It's not moving.
The brake lights are not activated and the parking sensors are active, but there is no one. Only the handbrake is engaged and it is strong enough to keep the car at rest. But I consider it quite dangerous if someone releases the handbrake.
Then the car will move, so this car moves without any problem if you release the handbrake. Fuel consumption has also increased. How long did I leave it in reverse? 11.8 compared to 11.7. Well, I got here with 11.6, but I listened to some music with the engine on. Not bad. The Spring has also received the new design identity that debuted with the new generation of the Duster. The daytime running lights nicely continue with this solid grille, the new DC emblem, which cleverly hides the charging port. We'll return to the charging port a little later. So these are just some white elements, not is a LED strip. It doesn't light up, nothing happens at all. Then we have an open grille, parking sensors. And here we have the model SIV65, which means 65 horsepower that the car has. It is the powerful engine. And here we have some stickers, which come, if I understand correctly, only with the extreme version. But what is very important is how technology has evolved nowadays. You go, make yourself a nice sticker, a wrap with whatever design you want, and you put it here.
And you can have any design you want. I think that's really cool because you can personalize your car however you like. You go to anyone who prints things, and they can make you a sticker for your spring. The spring has a ground clearance of 15 centimeters, approximately up to here. Fully loaded, it's 12 centimeters because of the battery.
18 centimeters would be the ground clearance if the car were a gasoline-powered quid and not a spring, because the battery still takes away 3 centimeters. But we have 23 centimeters here in the front, at the front bumper, so we don't scratch the bumper on curbs. And anyway, we have unpainted plastic elements that show us the car belongs to the A-Class SUV segment, mini SUV. Some say it's a hatchback, others say it's a mini-class SUV.
I call it a crossover. It's a small car with high ground clearance, and honestly, this ground clearance helps a lot when crossing Bucharest. The wheels aren't big either, so the car isn't very rigid. And we also have a guard here. It's a plastic car that also has an aerodynamic role because, especially in electric cars, aerodynamic turbulence matters a lot.
And then the air that hits the car will be guided somewhat towards the outside of the car so that the aerodynamic coefficient, unknown because Renault hasn't disclosed this, will be as good as possible. I got the new paint detector, but unlike the Dacia Spring, on this one, battery is not included, so we won't be able to do the paint test today. We can talk about paint. We have 4 main and bold colors we can choose from. This one, slate blue. Bay Safari, lichen khaki, and my favorite, brick red. Did you know you can make anyone laugh by looking straight at them and saying, brick? Try this at home. I tested it and it worked. I'm curious if in spring... The corrosion warranty is still 6 years like for the other Dacia models. I noticed that for the Renault Scenic it is 12 years, and gradually Renault is starting to offer a longer warranty. We have 2 more colors, refrigerator white and gray. So, better add some color to your life and get batteries for everything. Did you know that Dacia Spring is, although it might not be anymore? I need to see how much the new motor model weighs, but it was the only electric under 1 ton in Europe. Let's see why.
It was the only electric under 1 ton sheet.
Metal sheet, and the trunk is also metal sheet, so we don't have any aluminum at all.
I was about to say the aircraft's dashboard. We only have sheet metal in the bodywork. Let's see the roof, because we haven't done it. Yes, all sheet metal. Yes. Luckily now to still... It's thick metal, Dad. Luckily now to still take apart, like this. One thing you don't know is that
Renault Kwid had an empty weight of 775 kilograms. The car was that light, under 800 kilograms. It was the type of Utico. The Spring weighs 985 kilograms when empty in the extreme version, which is the heaviest of all 3 because it has the most equipment among all 3, and yet they managed to do this without a gram of aluminum. The hood was slightly cut out, as if someone took a knife and cut into margarine. And we notice big and bold, a single sprayer for wipers. Which wipers? Because we have a single wiper blade. Everything for reduced costs. Anything for efficiency and economy with this car. It's interesting that the wiper has 2 arms but doesn't have 2 blades. Simple as good day. We have the chassis series with U. The chassis series of Dacia. If it started with L, it was a Chinese car. And the windshield obviously is not heated, but it is double laminated. I don't know how well this can be seen. And we even have channels for draining water that you wipe with the wipers. windshield fluid according to needs. A novelty, here in the windshield, we have a camera with defrosting for driver assistance systems because the car appeared after July 2024, which means it must.
To have safety systems compliant with General Safety Regulation 2, let's see what safety systems it has.
And through the buckets, well, it has emergency braking both urban and interurban, detects vehicles, pedestrians, bicycles, motorcycles, recognizes traffic signs, and has speed warning, so it tells you when you're speeding. That's bad. Rear parking sensor, emergency stop signal, lane change warning, lane keeping assistance, driver attention warning. It tells you when you're not paying attention.
And emergency call. But let me tell you, the people at Dacia and Renault are geniuses.
The My Safety Perso button has been made. A button you personalize to press twice when you get into the car, and all systems deactivate that. It annoys you. Among all the manufacturers on this earth, Renault and Dacia have the best system, without a doubt. I've done my duty and washed the car. That's how it looks. We have soundproofing with plastic, not everywhere, to be honest. Without spoiling the surprise, it's still plastic, but again, not everywhere. The car tires are Continental Winter Contact TS 870, which are obviously not the original tires of the car, because those were some Chinese ones I don't remember anymore.
Laufen, Linglong GT tires, there are many. I no longer remember what the spring comes with, and I don't know if the new spring comes with.
Other rims and other tires, 165 by 65 by 15 is the tire size on the
higher trims, Expression and Extreme. Standard comes with something like 165 by 14, so the width is the same, only the size is different, and all come with steel rims. No version, not even as an option, has
alloy wheels. I told you there's no aluminum on this car at all. This is roughly how the steel wheels look. Standard ones that come on 15-inch 4 bolts. And yes, we still have drums. At the back of the Dacia Spring, the car when you need to take it easy. Here we can forgive it for having drums and not discs, ventilated discs. We still have small ones on the front. The nice part is that we have different hubcaps depending on the equipment, so you can recognize the car based on the hubcaps. And there are 2 more versions, but I don't know which ones they come with. I know partly.
The cargo version, Spring Cargo, which is not sold in Romania, is a van based on it. Spring comes with a big engine and is based on the Expression because it has optional Apple CarPlay. And the version for ride sharing, I don't know which version it is based on. But it has that durable upholstery that you can wash about 10 times a day.
And it doesn't break. I wanted to go on the highway to test its noise insulation and consumption at 140 kilometers per hour, but I remembered that this car doesn't reach 140 kilometers per hour. It reaches 125 in reality, and 130 on the dashboard. So, I'm sorry.
Speaking of safety systems, do you remember when Dacia Spring got 1 star in the safety tests of the hour? It's shocking. Well, in terms of passive safety, not much has changed. We still have 2 front airbags.
2 curtain airbags. The curtain goes all the way to the back, and 2 side airbags. So 6 airbags, which is not bad for such a small car. Probably if they had put in 4 airbags, it would have been too much and it wouldn't have received even 1 star. I'm curious now if with the new safety systems the car will at least receive 2 stars in the Euro NCAP safety tests. Where are you most vulnerable inside the Spring if you are a passenger? In a frontal impact and a side impact. D. It is a small car. With thin sheet metal, initially designed for India, we can't complain about everything. If you're wondering who stole the longitudinal bars from my Spring, they no longer come standard because at high speeds, it disrupts that aerodynamic coefficient highly sought after by manufacturers, and so the roof bars are now part of the accessories catalog. The Spring is built on a platform of Quid, meaning the CMF-A platform, the smallest platform from Renault, which was designed by Renault together with Nissan. What does that mean? Transverse engine, McPherson suspension at the front, Obviously, electric power steering and a turning diameter.
9.6 meters. It is tiny. Let's see if we can demonstrate it. I've been coming here for about 2 years. I haven't turned any car in such a small place. And at the back we have a rather noisy axle, especially when you hit a fairly strong bump. But it was the same with the old Spring. Nothing changed in this regard.
This is the key. A simple traditional key with buttons. Lock, unlock, unlock, lock, trunk. And that's it. No keyless, no nothing, no window opening functions, no window closing functions. But you want to know something. I feel good with this key. I like to use the automatic like it used to happen. And this key has its charm. It's a simple car. Look, if you want to open it like this, you will open it. The car comes with this key as standard. And yes, at least you have standard central locking, meaning that you don't have to insert the key in the door every time to open it, not even on the basic version.
So the car is equipped. The mirror folds manually but is adjusted electrically only on the version of
Top. We don't have 360 cameras, we don't have courtesy lights, we don't have blind spot in the mirror, but in this version, it's extreme. We have these bronze color accents. Let me tell you another detail. Do you know what remained unchanged in the new Spring compared to the old Spring, apart from the mechanical components? The roof. Otherwise, all the body components have been changed.
Let's see how a car made in Xi'an, China sounds.
In Xi'an it is made. If I were Chinese, my name would be Lu Xi'an. Okay, let's see the materials. Yes, let's see. Cool. Strong, strong, strong. But we notice these white accents. They get dirty quite easily. The pockets are surprisingly large for a car in this class, so they are spacious and also have cutouts for drinks. But being white, they get dirty very easily. Despite that, the interior is much more cheerful with these white accents that, as far as I know, come standard on the Dacia Spring. Let's take a look in the back. Yes, materials, yes. Cool, 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 cool.
And the door locking and unlocking knob. Only the extreme version comes with electric windows in the back. And this click is quite satisfying in terms of quality. And here we also have child lock.
Wow, this child lock gave me quite a scratch on my hand. It hurts in this cold. So we also have a child lock. Wow, we have a sticker here with Dacia Spring.
And you saw the plastic elements a bit earlier. Let's do the back. And we've got something like this. A huge antenna.
Which is quite amusing. If ice ever forms on it, do this. To break the ice, or if it's wet and you can't get a grip on it. We don't have a spoiler. Well, we have a mini spoiler, also with an aerodynamic roll, with spray here.
Surprise, we have special defrosting for the rear wiper on the Dacia Spring. So, a pleasant surprise. Here we also have a piece of black plastic.
Looks pretty good. I have the impression it only comes in the extreme version like this, otherwise this element is glossy black. And in the extreme version, the Dacia emblem is in this copper color, otherwise it would be white. Trunk opening button to reach it. We don't have a camera. Well, yes, we have a reversing camera. Look here, without a washer, obviously. How could I say we don't have a camera then show you the camera? And the emblems are stickers, which means you can easily take them off and say something else, or you can take them and change the letters to write Pringles. How cool. So from Spring, you make Pringles. And here we have the stickers. These, I told you, you can go, make them to their size, and print whatever stickers you want, and here you can write whatever you want. For example, Babasha's hammer or something like that.
Right, here we have the parking sensors that come standard, regardless of the version and the light. So, you saw it a little earlier. This is the exterior of the new Spring. I want to know in the comments section if you like how it looks or not.
I also like the old Spring from the back. Overall, you can see the evolution. The new design language is noticeable. It's not a very big car. I understand many people laughed at it because it's small and light, but you should know that an electric car under 1 ton drives very nicely, as we will see during the test. And now let's move on to the trunk. To open the trunk, excuse me if it works from the key. Just unlock it, press the button, but remember, just like with the MG3, right? So, you don't press the button and then lift, because you can't. You have to press the button and pull at the same time, right? Otherwise, the car doesn't open completely. Here's the trunk. First of all, let me show you this. See? This is made with this. I accidentally touched it here. This is very thin, right? And I cut myself, unfortunately. Oh well, it will pass because it's cold outside. So be very careful not to scratch yourself on the cover.
The trunk has a volume of 308 liters, an increase of 6% compared to
the previous generation of Spring. Why? If in principle it is the same car with the same dimensions, you will find out immediately. But before that, let's see the opening. 80 centimeters, 95 centimeters wide, and 65 centimeters deep, with a loading edge not very high. 15 centimeters. Anyway, the trunk is large for this class. It's big, big, big. The reason we have a larger trunk is the fact that here we have a false floor we notice, yes, which hides this from us. A flat kit, the charging cables, the domestic cable, and the V2L that we will show right away. What disappeared from here? The spare wheel on the Dacia Spring disappeared and was replaced with something like that, with a repair kit. Why? I believe the reason is the switch to 15-inch rims, and there was no more room for a 15-inch spare wheel, although you can take a 14-inch spare. I have no idea about the smaller dimensions, but I think that's the reason why we no longer have a spare wheel on the Dacia Spring. As a result, we have a trunk volume that is 6% larger, meaning 308 liters, which is a very good value for this class. This cable,
Mode 3 AC, but it's simple, Type 2 to Type 2. This comes standard. The domestic cable, if you want to charge your car at home, is optional and costs 250 euros for the Dacia Spring, and that's not the only thing.
There are some other things, but we will tell you about them when we get to the interior or the engine section. If you want to fold the seat in a small car, you need quite large arms, because the seat folds either like this or from the back, but you need 2 people to fold it. We don't have a flat floor, you can see that, but the volume increases to over 1000 liters if we fold the seat. After that, when we want to put the seat back, it can be lifted very easily, as it's not very heavy, but you need 2 people, one to hold this seat belt, the other to hold the other seat belt, and that's how you then... These are the seats that come with the Dacia Sprint. On any version, they are only adjustable front and back, and at the backrest. You don't have lumbar support, you don't have height adjustment. Anyway, it's a small car. I don't know if you necessarily need something like that. Certainly some people do need it, and these are the seats, actually the upholstery for the top version. A standard, we have a denim-like upholstery. I think it's something like denim. The intermediate version comes with 2-tone upholstery with the Dacia logo engraved. It is also textile, and this is half textile, and it has the Dacia logo embossed. You saw it here on this side. We have contrasting stitching, we have airbags. You can practically see the increase in quality compared to the pre-facelift version. The steering wheel has received a major modification. Now it is height adjustable. Before it was not adjustable at all. So, bravo! And we have a new steering column. We have a new power steering system. We have a new steering wheel. The steering wheel is from the Duster, only it is not covered in leather. Chrome, aluminum, and leather in this car. Natural leather, not at all. The steering wheel feels good in the hand. I like the design. It's thin where it needs to be. No cutouts. That bothers me a bit. It's flat on the top and bottom. And look at what button has appeared.
The Dacia Spring now comes standard with the autonomous pilot system.
And now the driving position is much more pleasant and much easier. The pedals have basically remained the same. Being a car with an automatic transmission, the brake pedal is surprisingly...
It's narrow, it's a manual pedal, probably taken from the gasoline version, but I had no problem pressing it. I just wanted to mention this. At the steering wheel, I forgot to mention the lever. We have halogen headlights, automatic headlights with light sensor, fog lights, and here we have the wiper. But it is not automatic. There is no rain sensor. You have to activate it yourself every time. And if you do like this twice,
you put it in the service position, but not many people know this. So once you turn it and it returns, and if you turn it twice, it stays in the service position so you can change it. But not many people know this. And the audio controls have remained on the column where they always were on Dacia. Plus, minus, mute, answer the phone, hang up the phone, source, and next track, previous track from this little wheel. Everything is intuitive if you learn. And obviously, the ignition, it's here. It's a normal car with a key. Nothing wow. Let's test the interior materials. Hard. Here they placed a piano black console that is quite interesting. It looks a bit better. Hard. The roof is firm and doesn't have any cushioning at all. It's even so thin that it sticks to my magnetic mic on it. Yes. So we have absolutely nothing. It's just a layer. Like, why on earth would this material be under the ceiling? The lenses. Instead, they are soft, which shocks me because in many much more expensive cars, they are hard. So that's how the materials are in the Dacia Spring. The steering wheel is made of plastic, but it's soft plastic. These are the materials. Dacia Spring has always had hard materials. That's not going to change now. Let's see the storage spaces. We have a small pocket in the handle here. You can put a gum or something very good. A lavalier microphone. You can put that here. You can place, if I'm not mistaken, even the head of the small hammer ring. Yes, so you can also put the entire hammer ring. The side pockets, as you've seen, are very spacious. In this area, we don't have other storage spaces, but the console is very good in this regard. So you have a very vast space here in the lower area. But what you should remember is that you can buy from the accessories catalog.
From Dacia, 2 cup holders here, so you can have the cup holder if you want. Here we also notice, and
I don't know whether to put it in storage or not, but we have the holder for the U-clip. We have the U-clip accessories. You know them. You've seen them on the Dacia Duster. There's some really nifty accessories, cup holders, small flashlights, and other gadgets you can buy. And they're universal, meaning the U-clip is a universal standard at Dacia, and we will see it on all future models, including the Logan, Sandero, and so on. Here we also have a storage space above the glove compartment. Very useful because we have a box for lavaliers. We have a small hammer. It is very spacious, and it also has its own U-clip. Then the glove compartment, which is unlit, unpadded, unlined, but it is large. Here in the handbrake area, we have yet another space that you can use for various objects. And even the handbrake doesn't get in your way if you want to put something in this area. That's about it. With the storage spaces, the Spring isn't bad in terms of storage spaces, considering how the little car is tiny. Ergonomics and functionality. We have height adjustable safety centers, the mirror controls. I'm here. And below we have the headlights, the height of the headlights, just like the old Spring. The opening of the charging port, the opening of the hood. Now let's go up. The sun visor doesn't have a light, but here we have a microphone for the system. The Bluetooth system. The mirror is not electrochromic, it's based on a toggle. The vents are classic ones, the same here. The design is nice, at least that. The climate control is not automatic climate control, it's manual air conditioning, even if it seems like it. A climate control. We have window buttons, my safety perso. which is the miracle button in Dacia and Renault, locking, unlocking, hazards, eco, rear window lock, and the controls for the windows are here. Here we set the temperature. Although we don't have the temperature, we have a graded warm or cold, and here we have the fan. However, these dials feel very good. I really like them. No joke. The fact that they thought to put these little notches here, it makes a big difference. And we also have the two USB-C ports, which are with fast charger, not with slow charger. The U-clips, the 12-volt outlet that looks like it's a sync plug. That's how it looks, but the position is useful. The gear shifter is quite interesting, but you need to wait about half a second after selecting the gear.
And to wait until you receive confirmation, otherwise the command might not be accepted. It's half a second, meaning you don't do it just like that and enter the gear. You shouldn't do it just like that and enter the gear. Just so you know from me. The handbrake is well placed, well positioned. And regarding the infotainment system, we have the volume buttons placed up here along with the power button. The Spring isn't doing badly in terms of ergonomics. Not at all, I could say.
A really useful car for its size. Don't panic because there's an option for an armrest. It is actually an option in the accessories catalog. So these accessories are installed after you buy the car at the dealer. It's not an option that comes from the factory. And this is the 7-inch full digital dashboard that comes standard on any brand new Dacia Spring. Let's see what information we can have. Charge EcoPower ready and assistance systems, as simple as day. Let's focus on the assistance systems because at least we have some relevant information that way. We have the driving mode, assistance systems, speed gear, speed, battery level, range, consumption, and we can also modify here. Eco monitor, distance traveled, range, consumption. Now, with the heat on, the consumption has increased to 13.9 and it will continue to rise, but that's how it is. Even so, I still got 13.4 driving fast with the car. In winter, with a 26.8 battery, exactly 200 kilometers range. This is the 10-inch infotainment system. What's the deal with this infotainment system? The 10-inch Media Nav Live from Dacia is the same infotainment system. What do we need to know? On the first essential version, it is not available. You get a rather basic infotainment system on the 7-inch dashboard. You don't have Apple CarPlay. You don't have Android Auto. You have two speakers. Two speakers, which, believe me, sound quite good. You have bass. Surprisingly, a lot of bass. You don't really have mids. But you can see it is an improvement compared to the pre-facelift Spring. They are not the same speakers as in the pre-facelift Spring. In the second version, you get the same thing, but for 790 euros, you can have this Media Nav Live. And in the top extreme version, it comes as standard. Let's see how the system is. It is identical to the one from Duster. It shows us that it is 3 degrees outside. With these widgets, phone, Apple CarPlay, navigation. It also comes with navigation, but nobody can use Apple CarPlay and Android Auto and vehicle. Details about charging, energy. Now the battery provides for the climate control. No program activated. Battery and settings. Speaking of air conditioning, the following should be mentioned. Air conditioning comes standard only from the second version, so you don't have AC at all on Essential. Expression and Extreme come with air conditioning, just so you remember. So air conditioning does not come on the base version and you can't add it. The next version, Expression, costs precisely 2,000 euros more and comes with P15 wheels, AC, and different upholstery. So let's say that the P15 wheels cost you more. I don't know how much to say, 50 euros per wheel, 200 euros, 100 euros is the upholstery, so 300 euros. The rest, 1,700 euros, you pay for an air conditioning compressor. So if you want to have a fleet of cars without AC, you can do that if you want a reduced price. If not, yeah, returning. At the main menu, we have notifications, some settings regarding Bluetooth, volume, and so on. At Wi-Fi, if we can deactivate them. No My Dacia account is connected. I had the My Dacia app I showed you in another clip. It's the same thing. I didn't wait to also connect this car to the My Dacia Media account, and we notice Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, Bluetooth, radio, or USB, phone. I have to connect the phone, and here are the apps because this system is Android-based. Android 11, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, Device Manager's radio, apps if you want to enter the App Store to purchase. Hope whatever applications you want. You can buy Waze, you can buy Google Maps if you don't necessarily want to connect your phone audio via Bluetooth. Calendar and here navigation, and we have a few more settings. You see this settings button. It's exactly the same as the button. Actually, it takes you into the settings
of the cars here. What do we have? What settings do we have? Electric, you've seen them. My driving tells you how eco-friendly you are. It tells you what score you had and what energy you had. This is the consumption.
Since, from today, meaning not since we reset it, but from the charge. Yes, from the charge, because we charge the car. Look, from the start, from the charge. And look how much the climate and others consume. 2.1 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. But yes, this is from when I charged it, from when I took the car off charging, because I've had the engine running a lot since then, which isn't very bad, because if I had stayed for an hour with another electric vehicle, it would have consumed much more.
A lot. Let's go back. Travel assistance. Here all systems are active. So all on our perso and configure my safety perso. And here you can set lane change sound, lane departure anticipation, haptic intensity.
Yes, all the systems you want deactivated, you configure them here. And then when you get in the car, you press My Safety Perso. You press the My Safety Perso button you saw a little earlier twice, and they deactivate. So Dacia and Renault.
I can't praise this system enough. They hit the mark with this button, and all other manufacturers should take lessons and counter the stupid ideas of the union.
I connected CarPlay and Android Auto with a cable.
It can also be wireless. I was very impressed by the graphics, the response, the resolution, the color contrast. It's a good screen, and that's how you realize it's a good screen on CarPlay, not in the car's graphics, because the car's graphics can usually be poor and the screen very good. However, when you do mirroring, this is not mirroring.
That's the problem with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. People think it's mirroring, but it's not mirroring. It's an extended display and it's another display, and the resolution and clarity are given based on the screen. And if Apple has a very good standard for color graphics and resolution, you can easily notice on CarPlay if the screen is good. This is roughly the infotainment system from Dacia Spring. It is your choice which you choose it. If you don't want to spend the money or don't want this version, you can use the basic version. And here you have a phone holder. You place your phone and use the phone as an infotainment station using an app from Dacia, which is quite nice. We're also at the back of the new Spring, just like it was with the old Spring, without handles, but you have some headroom. The Spring is not a car with headroom, and now I have set the seat in a position where I can't reach the pedals to drive. So, for a taller person, you have a little space. You realize it's not going to be extraordinary space, but you have a very large net here, no USBs, you have electric windows, we have the hump, no armrest, no folding model. The car is, attention, the car is for 4 people, has 4 seats, 2 seat belts in the back, and 2 ISOFIX points in the back, so you can install child seats here without any problem. Under the hood, there are the same engines as the old Spring, but let me tell you something first. Now you can optionally buy a compartment from Dacia if you need to put your cables here. So it doesn't come standard, but in the accessories catalog, it is installed at the dealer after you buy the car. You can buy frunk, otherwise the engines are the same. 45 horsepower on Essential, which, as they say, is harder to buy, because if it doesn't come with AC and it doesn't come with CarPlay and doesn't come with something else I'll mention shortly, it's quite difficult. I think it's only for fleets or for delivery services, things like that, to buy that version, which means that the base for Sprint now is this, the one with 65 horsepower, which comes from the expression upwards. 65 horsepower, 130 newton meters compared to 125 that the 45 horsepower version has. Front wheel drive both, single speed with reduction.
we have the following.
0 to 100, 19.1 seconds for 45 horsepower, 13.7 for the 65 horsepower version. And as I told you, as I showed you in my video with the 65 Spring, the 65 Spring is faster in reverse than the 45 forward. But the performance is very good in the city, meaning the weaker version takes 5.8 seconds to 50, and this one takes 3.86, so 2 seconds faster.
And 80 to 120 is done in 26 seconds in the weaker version, and pay attention, 14 seconds impressively in this version. This car is not slow.
Both have a range of 225 kilometers from the same lithium-ion battery, 26.8 kilowatt hours. Absolutely nothing has changed from this point of view, and the maximum speed is 125 kilometers per hour for both. When it comes to charging, we have the following. Standard charging is AC at 7.4 kilowatts for all versions. However, for 600 euros on Expression and Extreme, you get DC charging. DC charging at 30 kilowatts. It's not much, but there is something to charge faster. I have the impression that it charges from 0 to 80% in about 56 minutes, from 20 to 80% in 45 minutes, and I will show you now how it showed from 30 to 100% and from 30 to 80%. I have some footage taken during the charging. I charged last night from L drive. I only charged from L drive, and it was pulling with 16 kilowatts at 0 degrees, which doesn't. It's not so bad considering that the maximum charging power is 30 kilowatts. However, now as standard, our Spring has V2L, vehicle to load. You use this adapter and you can supply power to everything that has a 220 volt outlet. I have the impression that you can charge with up to 3.7 kilowatts with this vehicle to load, and it's interesting that those at Dacia have installed this vehicle to load as standard.
Baca has the official Dacia John Horn. This is standard regardless of the version. You don't have to pay extra, but yes, 600 euros is the cost for fast charging. Probably, well, I know why they did this. Once, well, to limit costs, it's normal. But the second reason is the fact that the majority of Spring owners travel 37 kilometers per day at 37 kilometers per hour, and 70% of Springs. 75% of the Springs charge at home, so you don't need fast charging. You just need a wall box because the car is mainly an urban vehicle. So that was the thought process behind Dacia, Renault, and Dongfeng, who handled that part. That's how they managed to lower the base price of the Spring from what it was. From 20,000 to 16,800, including facelift and inflation, so the car can be competitive on the market, as they were no longer at 10,000 euros. So these were the costs that had to be cut for us to have the Spring at this price. If you want to charge it at 7 kilowatts, it charges quickly. I don't know, 3 to 4 hours, something like that. Not bad because the battery is small, and yes, it's not like it's going to limit your power on AC like it does on DC. No, the hood is soundproofed, we have rods, we don't have a shock absorber. And I had to mention one more thing. The battery does not have a heat pump. Obviously, since you can barely have air conditioning, it's clear there is no heat pump. And we don't have a battery preconditioning system. We don't have a liquid thermal management system for the battery. The battery has to cool down and heat up by itself, which could lead to degradation over time. If you push the battery both in winter and summer, that's the reason it charges slowly. That's the reason why even in summer it charges slowly, if it's too hot. But yes, no preconditioning, no heat pump. But well, we have vehicle to load and air conditioning from the intermediate version. Let's drive it. Let's see. How to drive the Springalo. Let's turn on the defroster like this. And let's activate my safety perso to disable it, so that the systems don't bother us. And let's wait for it to defog. The Dacia Spring defogs very quickly. I haven't had any problems from this point of view. Let's go with it. We are in eco mode now. Let's take it off eco. We switch to drive. Let's do 0 to 100. 0 something. Ready? 3, 2, 1. We spun the wheels. Maximum torque, big torque. You'll go past in no time. You don't mess with such. 75, 80, 88, 100.
100, done. It takes very little time to reach 53.8 seconds or something like that. Very little, or 5.8 seconds.
Up to 80, it gets there quickly. After that, it gets harder. I did a test a while ago. The 45 spring versus the 65 spring. It's very interesting if you want to watch that video, because you will see that the spring of 65 is faster in reverse than the spring of 45 going forward. Let's see. Now we're on eco, we're going normally. Actually, let's do a run. We take it off eco mode because I believe eco is the mode you should use for good range. Because yes, it has less power, but it still pulls well. Let's see a 60 to 100. 60, pedal to the metal without kick down. From 90 onwards it's harder. Visibility is good, but we'll talk about that shortly. Let's do 60 to 100 in eco. 57, 58, 59, 60, floor it. 66, 70, 74. Indeed, it's pulling harder. 82, 85, 87, 89, 91, 93. 95, 96, 97, 98, 99. Oh, 100 is the maximum speed on eco. I forgot to say that, but I see that with the spring. No, 103, 104. For the 45th spring, the maximum speed is 99. On eco, come on 100. But I see that this one slightly exceeds it. Goes slightly over 100. Steering wheel, similar to the old spring. The seats are similar to those of the old spring. It seems to me that you have more lateral support. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how it seems. The steering wheel feels much better in hand. I'm glad I can adjust it now. The mirrors are the same as in the previous generation. They offer good visibility. This mirror as well. In the back it's okay. The pillar is a bit thick. But this larger and slightly more adjustable steering wheel, more pleasant, even if it doesn't have those cutouts here in the back. And after a while, your fingers get tired. But you can move them around here, because you find a position that's somewhat 95% good, this steering wheel. It would have been perfect because it's thin here on the edges. Just that.
I had to make some cutouts here. Otherwise, I have no problem with this position at the steering wheel. In fact, I like it more than in the old spring, even though it is mostly the same. And the old spring didn't bother me very much either. The seat adjusts in height, only the backrest is adjusted manually. It's a simple car. Let's go around the curves, and here is a bit tricky because, wet on the ground, muck on the ground, leaves on the ground, it will be something. Let's do a regeneration test before we go into the curves hard. 50 per hour in drive. Let's see. Many have said that, Springo got regeneration. Springo had regeneration before. Now we have 2 levels of regeneration. Done. 50 to 10 on drive, and now we switch to braking, which indeed has somewhat stronger regeneration. It's about double, I would say, in terms of power, and I exemplified this in my video. 45 versus 65. How the 65 spring already had stronger regeneration than the 45 spring. But I am curious if the new 45 spring also has 2 regeneration levels. I think it does, because there would be no reason not to include them, since the battery is ultimately the same, and even the motor is ultimately the same. Let's go on curves. These Continental winter tires are very good. A fantastic grip the Spring has on this slush with these winter tires. These Continentals are really good. We're driving the car on braking because regeneration is very good when you take your foot off the gas. The car should engage in engine braking before you press the brake pedal, and thus it changes and the center of gravity shifts a little to the front, and thus the front will have more grip, biting better into the asphalt when you want to take a curve. Let's take it off eco mode and go. For anyone who says that the Spring is a slow car,
must go with this 65 because it simply is not. Let's also do a braking test with the winter tires. The ABS activated.
I didn't do an emergency braking. I have some luggage in the back and don't want to damage it, but I did a pretty hard braking. The ABS kicked in, the car stayed well on the path. When you want to play a bit with the car, you can do that. The suspension is soft. We'll talk about it shortly.
But we have a new steering column and a new steering wheel and different assistance. The car enters turns more pleasantly. It's more direct. But I can't say it conveys anything to you. Number but, if needed.
It's almost fun. Almost. On roads like these, look at the leaves. This curve is dangerous. It's very, very dangerous.
It's actually pleasant and not a bad car at all. It's not bad on curves, but you need some good tires. So, it's fantastic what these tires do. Let's see.
I hear the ESP traction control kept me in check. Yes, so that's it. In terms of road safety with these tires, it's better than the Renault Scenic.
From my point of view, it's quite nice. The car has roll, it has pitch, the suspension is set soft. But because we have such a rudimentary axle,
at some point when you hit some bumps at a certain frequency, Dana, you hit potholes, look, the suspension is super quiet. It's when you went that way, yes, you'll hear a clank clank. I don't know if you can somehow demonstrate, but the suspension is noisy when you hit a pothole or have
I don't know, a manhole cover, but not a manhole cover. With a manhole cover, it's nothing. When you reach the rear suspension travel with one of the wheels, avoidance maneuvers are now a bit nicer. Lane changing is nicer.
Overall, the car is a bit nicer indeed. The Spring kept up with inflation. The old scrap program is not what it used to be. Look here, here. The car should have gone a lot, but it's light. The traction control reined me in, and the tires kept me on the road. And this X3 behind me probably couldn't believe how the Spring handles the curves.
But I'm not going to keep up with him here. Even if the limit is 90, we're taking it off echo. Now if we kick down, it comes off echo. And
probably they can't believe how the Spring accelerates. Let's test the cruise control on the Spring for the first time. We go to 80, we don't have lane keeping cruise control, we have lane departure assistance. Change. The pilot works well, and now you can achieve better fuel efficiency. Well, you could before by using the limiter and getting the lowest consumption because you pushed it to the limiter, but now you go on cruise control and have a very, very low consumption. All in all, this is the Spring. I'm curious about your opinion. Do you like it or not? It seems like an interesting proposal to me. For me personally, I would get a Spring. I like small and efficient cars. It doesn't matter what propulsion they have. Given how small and efficient it is, it can be gasoline or diesel. I'm a big fan of the Kia Picanto 1.1 diesel, 75 horsepower, 6 gears. I'm a big fan of the Toyota 1.4 diesel, 90 horsepower, 6 gears. They don't have to be electric. Gasoline became more expensive by 4 Bonnie. And diesel, yes. What matters is that it is small and efficient. If you want to support the channel, a like and subscribe would be forever appreciated. I have been Lucy. This was the Dacia Spring. In the description, you have a bunch of interesting links, including the soundproofing test
and consumption at 140 kilometers per hour. Dacia Spring.
9.6 meters turning diameter. Cars with Lucy Popa end.